You may write me down in history with your bitter, twisted lies. You may trod me in the very dirt, but still, like dust, I'll rise. Does my sassiness upset you? Why are you beset with gloom? 'Cause I walk like I got oil wells pumping in my living room? Just like moons and like suns, with the certainty of tides. Just like hope springing high, still, I'll rise. Did you want to see me broken? Bowed head and lowered eyes, shoulders falling down like teardrops, weakened by my soulful cries? Does my heartiness offend you? Don't take it awful hard, 'cause I laugh like I got gold mines digging in my own backyard. You may shoot me with your words. You may cut me with your eyes. You may kill me with your hatefulness, but still, like air, I'll rise. Does my sexiness upset you? Does it come as a surprise that I dance like I've got diamonds at the meeting of my thighs? Out of the huts of history's shame, I rise. Up from a past that's rooted in pain, I rise. I'm a black ocean, leaping and wide, welling and swelling, I bear in the tide. Leaving behind nights of terror and fear, I rise. Into a daybreak that's wondrously clear, I rise. Bringing the gifts that my ancestors gave, I am the dream and the hope of the slave. I rise. I rise. I rise. Good evening, and welcome to the State of Black Women Virtual Summit presented by the Global Black Women's Chamber of Commerce. I'm Cynthia Terry, and I'm a proud member of the Global Black Women's Chamber of Commerce, the voice and choice for Black women business owners worldwide. The theme of our summit is Finishing Strong, Starting Stronger, 2022 and beyond. Our summit will be celebrating Black women businesses through conversation and contemplation. And now, the 105 Voices of History National HBCU Concert Choir and Leadership will present a beautiful rendition of Lift Every Voice and Sing. Enjoy.
But while I may be the first woman in this office, I will not be the last. Because every little girl watching tonight sees that this is a country of possibilities.
And now, please allow me to introduce and present our moderator, the founder and CEO of the first and only Global Black Women's Chamber of Commerce, Ambassador Reverend Dr. Susan Johnson Cook, whom we affectionately call Ambassador Sujay.
Thank you so much, Cynthia Terry, and thank you for all who are backstage and up front, our panelists tonight. And want to thank you for watching tonight and sharing this wonderful evening and event with us. So if you're watching on YouTube, as many of you are, please just hit that subscribe button right below there and share with us so that you'll know when we're doing this one and other future events that help build up Black women-owned businesses. We are the only chamber that focuses solely on Black women-owned businesses worldwide. And so tonight you're going to get a little taste of the world, all over the world today. I was on Sunday with the West African alumni chapter of Delta Sigma Theta, and they had a taste of Africa. And many of us were tasting with them the various flavors of the different countries. Well, tonight you're going to be tasting some of the businesses from all around the world. And so we hope that you'll join us and stay with us, engage with us. And for those who are joining tonight for this evening, all the way to midnight, if you join, there's a promo code called STATE, all caps, STATE 3, because this is the third State of Black Women Virtual Summit. And there'll be a 20% discount if you join today up till midnight. But I'm so excited. We saw certainly our Vice President Kamala Harris, and I still get puffed up as I watch it and get teared up. But before that, we saw the 105 voice choir of the historically Black colleges. And it was a dream. I was in the living room of a woman named Mother Maddie Taylor. She's gone on to be with the Lord. And a woman named Renata Roy, who still runs it. And it was a dream of a business that could be built. If we could get 105 voices, one from every historically Black college, couldn't we do this? And couldn't we do this rendition of Lift Every Voice and Sing? It was a dream. And so today you're going to see many people who started with a dream, just like you may have been started with a dream of dreaming about starting a business. And so you're going to meet some women who I am just excited, ignited, and delighted to have in this segment. So our first segment, you're going to meet people who are at new tables. They have new seats at some tables that were traditionally male. You know, sometimes we've not only had to build the table, but we've had to bring our chair to the table. And then once we get there, we want to rock that table. My first two guests, a lady Altaviz, who runs New York City tours in Harlem, a field of tourism that's new to Black women, and Coach Colette V. Smith, my new soror, but she is the first African-American woman to be in the NFL as a coach. So join me now. Thank you so much for being part of my life, my network, and for being part of this summit. So I'm going to start with you, Lady Altaviz. Tell us the name of your company and how you got started in tourism. I never met a Black woman in tourism in Harlem.
You sound like every tourist on my group. They all say, wow, you're the first. Yes, I am the owner of Lady Altaviz NYC Tours, and I took a voyage of tourism by wanting to expose my son to tourism. So as a 9-year-old, he won a trip to Egypt if he would take 4 tours in 12 months.
Wow.
In the 12-month period, they were boring. They were dreadful. And I just said, there's no way this has to change. So I put my master's degree of theater and singing and dancing to work and incorporated it in tourism, because you have the history, which is like a script, and the location, that's your stage. And I have a captivated audience. Showtime.
I love it. I love it. Now, Coach Colette V. Smith, I was there as you became an honorary Delta Sigma Theta proud member. And it was just, brought me just tears. But at 42, after smoking cigarettes, you saw a commercial and said, I'm going out for this team. So tell us about what was that pivot like? How did you become a coach and how did you become a player?
Yeah. Man, listen, first of all, I'm happy to be here. Thank you to the Global Black Women's Chamber of Commerce and this is the State of Black Women's Virtual Summit. I'm happy to be here. Listen, I've loved football my entire life. And so for me to not be allowed to play because I'm a girl my entire life always bothered me. And so I happened to see something on the internet about women's pro football.
Wow.
And I said, I'm going to take a chance on me. And I owe it to myself to see this.
Yes.
I didn't believe I was going to make the team, Ambassador. I just figured I was just going to go and experience it. And when I got out there and I saw powerful women playing this sport, there was no way I was going to deny myself playing this game. And so I ended up making the team.
Wow.
But what happened in the course of that is that I unleashed such a strong Colette that I never knew existed.
Wow.
She came out and she was ready.
Yes. You said no sidelines for you. I'm going to be in the game.
In the game.
So you both took passions, theater, and you wrote the script, and you took a passion. You've been watching football all your life. So can somebody be passionate and translate that into a business?
Absolutely. Absolutely. You know what? I've taken my passion for football and see, God brings you things on your time and he delivers it specifically geared for you.
Yes.
Customize this package for me. But you have to listen, right? You gotta learn to see and hear this. So I took that passion to empower women and girls. So I took this sport that people just think is a sport. It is a sport. It's an extraordinary sport. But that passion and love that I have for football has so many life lessons that I was able to bring to girls and to women.
Yes.
So it is possible to take your passions and make a business out of it.
So she used two words that are really important: customize and timing. So you customize tours so they would be exciting and not boring. And the timing of it was that my son is now bored on all these tours, but he can get a prize if we can customize it right. So talk about the timing, particularly in Harlem, of these tours that you're doing.
That's what sets me apart from the others, because we customize a tailor-made experience. So you may not be interested in the Harlem Renaissance or jazz, but you love the Harlem Globetrotters.
Yeah.
You love soul food. So if this is a gift for your husband, or if this is a bachelorette party, maybe you are a sorority. So maybe we'll go around and see all of the founding members, where they lived. I'll do the research and I'll find out where they went to church, where they studied, where they volunteered. The Schomburg Center makes my job so easy. So being able to tailor make an experience, it definitely sets me apart.
So you talked about research. So Coach Colette, you went from playing on the field to being a coach. What did you have to find out about going into really management of a team, from being a player to manager? What was the research you had to do?
So everything was uncharted water for me, because I was a businesswoman in corporate America my whole life. So to be in a male-dominated industry was not uncommon for me.
Yeah,
I'm usually the only woman at the boardroom table. I was usually the only woman in the office. So this was So now they're getting into football. I believe in research, and then research.
Yes.
So I just studied. I did all the homework you could ever imagine. I invented homework to do because I always wanted to walk into a room knowledgeable.
Yes.
With grace and with knowledge. And I think from me seriously having that passion to empower women, I wanted to showcase women in the best light that I possibly could. And you sit back and you think, how would you want someone to view you?
Yes.
What would you want someone to think about you if your name came up? So I applied that to my women's football. So managing my women's team, I learned so many things that I thought I already knew, but I became an expert at them because my passion was there for it.
So when I was a diplomat at the State Department, they always said, be the smartest one in the room. In other words, you make sure you know everything in that room when you walk in. So there's preparation and then there's presentation.
Yes.
So you're talking about women walking in ready and not trying to fumble. So let's talk about some football terms.
Yeah.
How can you tackle some things in life? When you're seeing that you are fumbling, how can you make the tackle, Coach Collette?
Okay, so in football, we have these two words, and actually for all sports, they're called L's and W's. L's usually mean losses, W's mean wins. L's don't mean losses in my life. L's are lessons.
Yes.
Okay, L's are lessons, not losses.
Yes.
So everyone's going to fall down sometimes, but it's how you get up. I don't just need you to get up. I need you to get up using the other side of your brain now.
Yes. Yes.
To figure out how to move forward, how to move the ball further. It's the first. I want 1st and 10s and touchdowns. 1st and 10s and touchdowns all day, every day, right?
Yes.
So how to tackle life is literally how to position yourself, how to align yourself to get that touchdown, to get that win, to get to that Super Bowl. So for me, everything is about learning every day. If you want to get better, you will get better.
So let's talk about that, Lady Altavis. You didn't just start doing tours. You went to school. And a lot of people think you can kind of bypass that educational piece, but you went to school for theater and communications. You're a drama queen, but you put that to practice in tourism. Talk about the need for education, no matter what business you're going to go in.
I am the biggest cheerleader for education, because as a Black woman in a male-dominated industry, they come for me quite often, and I encourage it. And that's when I bust them in the head with dates and facts and locations and names and examples. I love it. But if I didn't have that education, if I didn't have that thorough background research key that I would put inside the plug every chance I got, I probably would look stupid. And that's one thing we can't have. We can't have that.
Well, I must say, you led my Black women in ministry on a tour of Harlem. Most of them were from out of New York State. And I want to thank you. They just fell in love with you. And now you're a member of the Global Black Women's Chamber of Commerce, and we're in love with you. So thank you. So, Coach, I want to just ask you another question. There are tackles. And then I remember overhearing a conversation saying, you may not have run as fast as one of the other players, but you would watch kind of the strategy so that you would get there and intercept the ball because you were watching the game. Talk about strategy in business.
Oh yeah, that just brought me goosebumps because I remember being one of the oldest women on the team. I was 42 years old when I started playing professional full tackle football.
Wow.
And these women were half my age. I came in with knee problems, back problems, and you name it problems. And these women were faster than me, but I would watch the game. So I started picking up on gestures and movement. So I'm on defense. These women, these wide receivers on offense are going to get the ball. Well, who's going to get the ball? If you really start being completely locked and focused in, right? I started picking up their hand gestures. They might shake their hand. Somebody might move their head a certain way. And the ball was going to go to them. So because I wasn't as fast as the other woman, my brain was though, because I was locked and loaded. So I would position myself to get that hit. Bam! I was right there. So now the ones that were faster than me, they might get there at the same time, or I might get there a little before them. They got there on speed. I got there on brain power and strategy.
I love it. In case you're just joining us, you've joined the Global Black Women's State of Black Women's Virtual Summit. We're so glad to have you. We're talking with Coach Collette Smith and Lady Altavis of Lady Altavis Tours. You can also get in the conversation with a couple of minutes for questions. Just go to that chat, and we have Val Harris is collecting your questions, and we do have a couple of minutes for questions. We'd love to hear from you because this is engagement, but we've learned about positioning. We've learned about loaded and lessons, not losses. We've learned that it doesn't matter what age or stage, you can still get in the game, and that education is important. Preparation for proper presentation. So if you have a question right now, please go in that Q&A chat and put it in there, and Val Harris is going to come and ask a couple of questions for us as we continue this wonderful conversation of celebration and contemplation. Val, Harris, Elaine, do we have a question from the audience?
Well, good evening, everyone. I've been getting such great comments and acknowledgments of your achievements. One question is, what are the challenges being one of the only women of color in your industry, and how do you address them?
I'm going to ask each of you to answer that. Lady Altavis, you first.
Well, I address it definitely by celebrating my Afrocentricity and using it to my advantage. If I'm giving a 9/11 tour, a Brooklyn Bridge tour of Central Park, I always find a way to tell the history of, say, Seneca Village in Central Park, or how many people that were a part of the 9/11 memorial that sometimes get swept under the rug or admitted. But I find a way to celebrate my femininity as well as my Afrocentricity in every tour.
And we just celebrated 5 Black women who were 911 operators at Ground Zero. 20 years later, they're still at 911, but nobody ever acknowledged them. They're like the hidden figures. So I'm going to make sure you get their names because they were at Ground Zero, and I was the only Black woman chaplain there. People don't know that Black women participated. So we're going to have femininity and Afrocentricity and history. So Coach Colette, how do you answer that question?
I mean, for me, I pay it forward. For me, I pay it forward. So for me, I visit schools. So my company, Believe in You Incorporated, was created to celebrate and to acknowledge and to let our children know that any and everything is possible if you believe in yourself. We're not waiting on somebody else to believe in us.
Wow.
We have to believe in ourselves. So I visit kids' schools in Black communities on purpose to talk to them about the achievements in which I did.
Yes.
And it unlocks and it opens up their imagination. Wait a minute, girls don't play football. Well, now I go, let's go to the videotape.
Yes.
And then when I said I coach in the NFL, they go, then they're like, there are no women that coach in the NFL. I go, let's go to the videotape. Right?
I love it.
And so now these kids, you could almost see their brains like, wait a minute, so I could possibly do this for myself. I'm here to unlock their power, to inspire and encourage. So that's how I celebrate me being the only Black woman in a position.
Well, thank you for all your questions. We can't answer them all. You both can do a whole summit. Just tell us quickly how they can get in touch with us in the chat. But Lady Altavis, what's your website? And do it slowly and do it twice for us.
Okay. www.ladyaltavis. Alto like singer, the section alto, vis like the credit card you swipe Visa, ladyaltavis.com. Again, www.ladyaltavis.com. And Altavis is spelled ALTOVISE.
Thank you so much. Coach Colette, how can they get you?
So you guys can find me on my website for Believe in You Inc. That's Believe in, just the letter N, YOUINC, short for incorporated, believeInyouInc.com. You can also find me on Instagram at Colette V for Victory Smith. My mama would tell you the V's for Veronica, but I say it's Victory.
And I would say V for Vivacious. We want to thank you for joining us. This was only the first segment. Stay with us. This is State of Black Women Virtual Summit number 3. And we want to invite you to join Global Black Women's Chamber of Commerce. You can go to globalblackwomencc.com. And for today, up until midnight, it's a 20% discount if you put in state number 3. State all caps number 3. Thank you both for being my friends, for being just a blessing. We are so proud of you, and thank you for joining us tonight. You don't have to leave home, but you got to go somewhere.
Thanks, Sarah.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
And you've been listening to Lady Altavis and Colette B. Smith. And now Terry is going to share with us what's coming up next. Thank you so much for joining us. Push that subscribe button, and we'll be right back for our next segment.
Thank you so much. That was amazing. Black women in non-traditional markets. That was so much information and so much energy. I was really drawn in with lessons, not losses, because sometimes we feel like we lose, but get up and keep on going, knowing that that's a lesson. So we were really blessed by both of our panelists. Thank you so, so much. At this time, we're going to hear words from one of our partners.
I'm Gwen Franklin, founder and CEO of Be Lifted Up, Inc., a proud small business member of the Global Black Women's Chamber of Commerce. And today, I have a financial empowerment message for you. A recent Harvard Business Review reported that in the United States, 17% of Black women are in the process of starting or running a new business. Just as we need health insurance to avert financial ruin and life insurance to build generational wealth, retirement savings is a must-have to secure future sustainability. Retirement planning for business owners is relevant no matter what age. The younger, the better. It'll cost you less money, but it's never too late to get started. The key benefits of a retirement plan are tax deductions for the contributor, whether it's the employee or the employer, tax-deferred growth for the plan owner, and income supplement in later years. Affordability, you may ask. Well, in the long run, you really can't afford to be without a retirement plan. There are a few options for small and growing business owners. There are traditional and Roth IRAs, which are best for those who are just starting out. Contribution limits are fairly low, but you get in the game. Higher contribution limits can be found in a solo 401k, which is best for a business owner or a self-employed person with no employees except their spouse. SEP IRA plans are best for business people or small business owners with no or few employees. And then there are the simple IRAs, which are best for larger businesses with up to 100 employees. So, as we enter the tax season, the good news is this: you can open and contribute to an IRA or a SEP plan for the 2021 tax year right up until your tax filing deadline date. For the solo 401k, it must be set up and funded by December 31st. The simple IRA, well, missed it, has to be set up and funded by October 1st, maybe next year. Consult your accountant and or your financial professional to see how retirement planning might be beneficial for you and your business. And stay tuned to the Global Black Women's Chamber of Commerce, because the power of connection is huge. And all you do, be lifted up.
Thank you, Gwen Franklin. Oh my goodness, she is awesome, and she always has information that we need. And we hope that you took a little bit of it. My parents started me with retirement planning back at the end of college years. And back then it seemed like it was so soon, but you know what? Next month I get my Medicare card, and you know what? My retirement plan is together. And so you want to start as soon as possible, whether you're a business owner or whether you're thinking about opening a business, so that you'll be set in your, what we call our golden years. So thank you, Gwen Franklin. And right now, she's also not only a member of the Global Black Women's Chamber of Commerce, not only a financial whiz, but she also goes to Selah by the Sea, which is one of the trips that we plan, a retreat that we plan for busy business women. We're going to show you some information about Selah by the Sea right now. Selah by the Sea, June 20th to June 23rd, 2022. We're going to be at the Old Palm Beach, which is a tremendous resort. We think you should pause, be pampered. We know how to pray, but do you know how to play? It is a benefit for you. It's an investment in your retirement. It's an investment in how you release your pain. It's an investment in sisterhood. So we say these things. It's luxury, leisure, life balance, laughter, and legacy for leading ladies, of which you are one. So join us. You can go to www.thewowfactor.live. Why wow? Because it's presented by women on the world stage. Oh, wow. We want you to say, wow. We want your soul to cry out, wow, I needed this. So go to thewowfactor.live. You can register up to December 23rd, and we'd love to have you. A few spots available because it sells out so quickly, and we want to make sure there's a spot just for you. TheWowFactor.live, Selah by the Sea. Selah means pause, take a break, take a chill, and we want to see you there. Thank you so much for this time. We're getting ready for our next segment, and Reverend Cynthia Terry is going to tell us who's up next. Thank you.
So we're back with our next segment, and our next segment will be Black women and mental health. Ambassador Sujay will be introducing our guests, Dr. Tiona G. Prelo, MD, and Janie M. Cotton, MS, LPC, licensed therapist.
Thank you, Reverend Cynthia Terry. So one of the reasons we talked about Selah by the Sea, because it's good for your mental health. It's good to take a break. And a lot of us are so busy caring for others, doing so much. Some of us try to do more than 24 hours a day. One of the things in the prayer that the Lord taught us was, give us this day our daily bread. And each of us gets 24 hours. But now we're looking with COVID and coming out of a pandemic, some people are stressed. So my guests today are Dr. Tiona Prelo, MD, a psychiatrist, and Dr. Janie Cotton, a therapist. Thank you both for joining us today. We're so delighted to have you. Dr. Janie, tell us what a therapist does. You had 7 therapy centers throughout Little Rock, Arkansas. Tell us what a therapy does and who you are.
Well, first of all, good evening, my sisters and all those who are listening. It is so exciting to be here, and thank you for the honor to be here. I've been a licensed professional counselor and served as a therapist for over 40 years. I enjoy being a therapist because you have an opportunity to do one-on-one with the people that come before you. Just need someone to listen to them, to empower them. People know their own situation better than you do, but sometimes you just need a shoulder to lean on and a listening ear so that you can talk through those things that are going on in your life. When therapists were having issues with that, I chose to go the administrative route because I saw policies that didn't look like us. And so I became the first African-American CEO in the state to do public mental health. And by doing so, I was able to embark with my staff, more African-Americans coming to therapy and coming to our day treatment programs so that they could get services. So I want to say that it's more than just the therapy itself. It's making sure that legislators embark upon the policies that continue to help us so that we don't have barriers to African-American people wanting services. There are so many things that are out there, and we're living in such critical times now that everybody at some point may need a therapist.
Thank you, Dr. Cotton. And Dr. Prelo, you are an MD psychiatrist. Tell us who you are, what you do, and how psychiatrists work.
Yes, and thank you so much for having me on and giving me the opportunity to participate. And I'm just delighted to be here. And I'm a psychiatrist. And as a psychiatrist, we treat a broad range of diagnoses, including anxiety, depression, PTSD, bipolar disorder. And we do a comprehensive treatment plan that includes therapy, medication, and lifestyle changes so that a person can transform their trauma into triumph. A lot of the diagnoses that we are treating are based in trauma, and especially in the African American population. You know, we as a people have collective trauma from our history, as well as the current society that we're living in. We are absorbing trauma on a daily basis. And so sometimes the effects of that trauma actually change the brain chemistry, change the body chemistry. And as a psychiatrist, I feel that it is so important for us to be able to speak to that trauma from a cultural perspective that people can connect with, and help people to understand that medication can sometimes be a part of that healing process, and sometimes medication may not be necessary. And as a psychiatrist, I help walk people through the process of deciding, what does your healing journey look like? What does your recovery story look like for you as an individual?
Well, first, let me say thank you to both of you for being there, because we know there has been trauma. There is trauma.
Yes.
I think one of the things the pandemic did is allowed us all to slow down long enough to maybe see some things we had missed, deal with some things that we had been going too fast to deal with. So if someone is feeling, a business owner is feeling kind of out of whack, maybe they need rest, but how do they know whether they go to a therapist or whether they go to a psychiatrist? Dr. Cotton, and then I'm going to ask Dr. Prelo the same question.
So let me start out by saying, and that's one of the differences. Dr. Prelo, as an MD, is a doctor. Then there's a psychologist, and then I'm a therapist.
Okay.
People still call me doctor. I think it's because of my 40 years of experience. And I think in our African-American neighborhood, we give honorary doctoral information. But I wanted to say that so that I could clarify the therapist versus the doctor.
Thank you.
So a therapist is usually your front line after it has been an assessment completed. The therapist does the assessment. Once they do the assessment to see what your needs are, then as a therapist, after my assessment and your diagnosis, so I'm able to diagnose, I'm able to evaluate, I'm able to say what's needed for that. If I feel that the person's needs are far greater than a therapist and need medication, I would refer them to my sister, the doctor, so that she can evaluate whether or not they need medication. And so a lot of people get all of that confused, and that's okay, because we will clarify it for you. The main thing is seeking help when you need help.
Yes.
And I applaud everybody and say that it's such a stigma associated with mental illness, especially in our community. We were always taught to keep things secret in our homes. We always taught to pray. And then people forget that just like you have medical doctors to take care of cancer or heart attacks and those kinds of things, you have us to take care of the mental capacity. So everything cannot be accomplished at church. Prayer is wonderful because I'm a believer.
Right.
But sometimes you have to go outside of the church house so that you can get the specialty area that you need.
So how would we address you? Miss Cotton? If in the community, would they address you as Miss Cotton?
Miss Cotton. I always correct people. Everybody still, even when I correct them like 10, 15 times, they said, well, you're honored, doctor. So it's no different than somebody else, but I always clarify because I want it to be correctly.
I love it. So as a pastor, I was a pastor for 30 years in inner city New York. And after they came to me 2 times, maybe 3, I realized they needed help. So I always referred to a therapist, but many times, like you said, they really needed a psychiatrist. So Dr. Prelo, coming out of this pandemic, what are you seeing, particularly with Black women and business owners and Black mothers, particularly of Black men? What are you seeing?
Yes. So, there is the pandemic, but there has also been a lot of unrest and highlighting of the racial injustices that are happening in our nation. And so that is triggering a lot of previous traumatic experiences. It is triggering feeling a sense of overwhelm and stress among Black women, among Black mothers, because you go to bed at night and you wonder, how do I keep my kid safe from all of the things that are happening? How do I hold it all together and make sure that my business stays afloat so that I can provide for myself? And in the Black community, we're not only taking care of our immediate family, oftentimes we are the surrogates who are holding together, multiple generations of people. And we are taught things like you have to be 10 times better than everybody else to stay on top. And you don't have time to sit down and cry about things. If something happens to you, forget it and drive on. Don't give up, just keep pressing. You got to stay on your grind. And we are now in a situation in which crisis is happening, and we're still trying to press through and repress and suppress some things. And as a result, we are seeing a lot more people sort of feeling overwhelmed, becoming depressed, having severe anxiety. But at the same time, we are also seeing a lot of resilience and a lot of people being willing to reach out and get help who before may have thought, I'm not a typical patient. They're recognizing like, I'm just feeling overwhelmed and I need to reach out to someone somewhere to get help. And I think, with that mindset of keep driving, keep pressing, keep grinding, we sometimes forget that we deserve, with all of the things that we struggle with and all the things that we've been through, we deserve to experience delight and happiness and joy and all of the wonderful fruit of our labor, and being able to go in and lay down some of those burdens with someone who can listen and understand and help you to reconnect with that self-love and that appreciation for you. I mean, it tremendously changes your ability to again be resilient and rise up and drive on.
As that poem started at the beginning, and still I rise. You want to be resilient and you want to be able to rise. Someone first interviewed me. I'm a mother of 2 Black men. And somebody interviewed me. I said, we have the talk, the prayer, and the cry. We have to talk with them, not about the birds and bees anymore, but about being Black and going into stores and driving. We have the prayer, praying for them every time they go in and out of the house. And the cry. We know one day we're going to get the call. And it always happens. I know somebody put in a little mark saying that we're racist. Whenever we talk about ourselves and developing ourselves, somebody from the other side wants to criticize that. But I'm going to ask for people, put in your chat there. First of all, subscribe if you're watching on YouTube. Put in the chat if there's a question for Dr. Prelo or Ms. Cotton, because this is a fascinating conversation. Many of you are business owners. You may not be experiencing yourself, but your employees who have been, laid off or set off for the last year and a half, who can't feed their families. Some of them may experience stress. So we want you to dig right into this conversation. Again, this is the State of Black Women Virtual Summit 3. And I'm Ambassador Susan Johnson Cook, the CEO and founder. We'd love to have you as part of our conversation and part of our organization. So if you have a question, Val Aline Harris Aline is going to come with some questions from you. Val, please, what is one of the comments or questions that we have coming in?
Okay, one of the questions I have is, how do you encourage members of the older generation to join you in therapy or seek therapy on their own?
Well, I'll answer that. We had a day treatment program, and we have to recognize generational gaps and barriers that comes with it and be sensitive because especially in our community, our ancestors and our grandparents were raised with a knowledge that whites in general may not have their best interests. And so they learned not to seek help, but to pray. And so I think it is keeping a concerted effort of sensitivity, giving them the ability to express why they don't, and then encouraging them through love and knowledge on how to join with you just because you support them and love them. I always told my mother and grandparents, you are the most knowledgeable people in the world, and I respect you. Now let us join together to move forward because it'll help our family, it'll help you individually. But we want to always keep them empowered so that they don't feel less than because they have not decided to do therapy. That's the worst thing we can do, is be judgmental. And we're taught as therapists to have self-love and not be judgmental. You meet people where they are, you coach them, and you allow them an opportunity to get where you are so that you can join together with them to get the assistance that's needed. I can tell you that elder people do join. I'm a witness of, with, as our ambassador said, we increased our older people through generational things that have happened with them, and they have started getting services in the last 20 years more than ever because they felt trusted in the people that was providing the services.
So we're almost out of time. So I'm going to ask Dr. Prelo this question this way. A lot of my generation are seeing parents that are having early signs of dementia
Yes.
or Alzheimer's. How do you direct them to deal with this and handle this? Because some of it might be medical and some of it may be therapy. How do you direct those who have to deal with that?
In terms of assessing the degree of need for treatment, I think the first stop would be your primary care doctor.
Yes.
Just taking your loved one in for an evaluation and talking about things that may seem insignificant, like forgetfulness or getting lost when you're going places, or changes in mood. Having the primary care doctor do a medical evaluation, and then letting them refer you to a psychiatrist, and help. The psychiatrist really can help the entire family not only recognize that there are still things that can be preserved even in the midst of the loss of memory and function, and then providing support to the caregivers also, because it is a challenge to walk with someone through the process of losing, you know, what used to be them, and helping them to remember that their spirit and the things that make them who they are still very much present, even if their memory is declining, and giving caregivers that support. So, you know, starting with the primary care and then finding a good psychiatrist who will provide more than just a medication, but a comprehensive and family approach to dealing with that.
So this is my last question. We have to be quick, and thank you, Val, Harris, Elaine. Those who are in the chat will get to you. So really quickly, some people have a hard time retiring, and their season is up. They've been a business owner. They've been successful. They've helped other generations. Give a quick sentence. I know it's not a quick answer. What do you say to the person who's having trouble letting go? Ms. Cotton and Dr. Prelo, we have like 2 seconds to answer that question.
I'm going to say it real quickly. I knew at age 65, that I was through. I enjoyed what I did, but enough is enough, and you need to know your time. I'm trying to get other friends to find their time. There's always excuses because there's fear involved, because there's a new beginning and you're not sure of it. But I can tell you, it's the best gift God gave us on this earth to retire. I'm 3 years into retirement and love every minute of it, because now I can give my service and time when I deem it appropriate and not based on a clock or something else. So go for it.
Dr. Prelo, how do you answer that as a psychiatrist?
I would just say frame it, instead of as retiring, frame it as repurposing, because you still have plenty of purpose and your work is not done until you're no longer here. So even though you may not be doing what you originally were doing, you're not retiring, you're repurposing. And I need you to teach me all of that good wisdom that you've learned along the way. So reach out to someone who's coming up so that you can share. And now your legacy is going to continue far beyond you as a result of that sharing.
So quickly, tell us how people can find you. Dr. Prelo, do you have a website?
I have an email address, restandsmile@gmail.com, and you can reach me there.
restandsmile@gmail.com. And if you come on the Selah retreat, you'll be resting and smiling. Ms. Cotton, how can they reach you?
JanieCotton.com. It has the WWW before, but JanieCotton.com. And I'm always available. And just call me. I love what we're doing. And thank you for this opportunity. It's been wonderful. Go get help if you need help.
Thank you.
Mental
And
health
Jamie
is
has
okay.
2 N's in it. And we thank you both for joining us. You can also go to the wowfactor.live, the wowfactor.live. Thank you so much. We can
Thank
spend the whole
you.
summer
Thank you
talking.
for having us.
I hope you'll come back again. God bless you until we meet
God
again.
bless
Thank you
you.
so much. Wow, was that a segment? And we are getting ready for another segment. We have some emerging voices, but Reverend Cynthia Terry is going to talk about who's coming up next. Reverend Cynthia, tell us about it. Take us to it.
Yes, they did a fabulous job. We learned a lot, and I love the repurposing. I think that was one of my great takeaways. We are getting ready to hear from Thelma Williams, who will be giving us some information on Black women and maternal health.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is Allison Felix. The picture. She's an elite track and field athlete, an Olympian. Allison felt prepared. She's a professional athlete that had a birth plan, went to prenatal appointments, attended birthing classes, and trained throughout her pregnancy. She never imagined that she would experience a serious problem during her pregnancy. At 32 weeks, she was diagnosed with severe preeclampsia and had an emergency C-section. Because her doctor took quick action and her husband was there to support her, she is alive. Too many women die of pregnancy-related complications, and most are preventable. If you or someone you know is pregnant or recently had a baby, learn the warning signs. It could help save lives. For more information on Allison's story, go to www.cdc.gov/hear her for this particular campaign. Thank you.
Cynthia Terry is going to set up our next segment. Thank you so much for that information. So we did with mental health, dealt with your general health, and now prenatal health for the businesswoman. Reverend Cynthia Terry, who's coming up next? Okay, this is our emerging leaders segment. And I am so excited. In this segment, Natalie Jenkins, co-founder and chief operations officer of StrataCamp, is joining me along with Lena Jennings, senior people analyst at Google, and Dawn Callahan, integrated marketing specialist for the public and private sector. Please meet these dynamic women as they join me for this emerging leaders section. And we're so happy to have you. Thank you for joining me. Natalie, you're my co-moderator, and you're also a member of the Global Black Women's Chamber of Commerce. I was so blown away when you helped us lead our last session, our masterclass for the Global Black Women, on the very thing we were talking about, taking time, doing some self-care. But today we have these dynamic emerging leaders, Dawn Callahan, Lena Jennings, joining us. Natalie, can you pose the first question for us today?
Absolutely. Such an honor to be here with all of you beautiful women. I have lots of questions for you as, you know, a young woman in business myself. So one thing I would love to know is what you wish you knew at the very start of beginning your career and what would have helped you most right at that point.
So Lena, why don't you start for us and tell us who you are, what you do, and answer that question for us, please.
Awesome. Well, good evening, everyone. My name is Lena Jennings, and I am a people analyst at Google. And to answer that question, I would have to say advocating for yourself. No one else will. No one else will talk about your achievements and your accomplishments and the things that you have done in your life and in your career. And if you are not advocating for yourself, if you are not demanding that you bring more value to the table than the value that the company is giving you back or anyone is giving you back, then no one will give it to you unless you acknowledge it yourself. And so for me, I would say advocate for yourself. Like, don't be afraid to share your accomplishments. And I think especially as Black women, we oftentimes want to be humble. We want to just we want to just maintain and kind of fit in and feel like we belong in different environments. And sometimes we are forced to dim our light around other people who are not like us. But in reality, no one does it like Black women. No one comes close to how we do things, to the sauce that we put on things, to the creativity we bring to the table. We do it just 10 times better naturally, and not being afraid to say, oh, well, I did this 10 times better and I brought X, Y, and Z value to the table, and let people see it. And that's okay.
I love it. Dawn, how do you answer that question?
Ooh, that is heavy. There is, at 44, I have a list, but I'm going to try to sum it up. And just thank you so much for this opportunity. I'm so excited to be here, and I love being a member of the chamber. Encourage anyone, if you are not a member, to please consider joining. I think that the biggest thing that I would say is probably that to go with your strength. It's one of those things that, you take your abilities for granted because it's just something that you do naturally. And and for me, it's art. I'm very creative. I can come up with a creative idea in 2 seconds flat. And so learning how to associate that with my self-worth was a challenge for me because it came so easy for me. I thought like, oh, I enjoy doing it. So no, you don't have to pay me. No, it's okay. It's fine. It's fine. And that, let me tell you, is definitely something I wish I had really understood and comprehended early on, because you definitely need to know your self-worth in the very beginning, or you will compromise yourself. Absolutely.
Wow. Natalie, let me take the next question. First of all, Lena and Dawn were introduced to me by a man, Elliot Johnson, who is the chair of the board at Howard University Business School. So we call each other cuz now. Natalie's just my little sister. I just love her. So Dawn, you experienced bankruptcy starting a business. Tell us about your business. Tell us about bankruptcy and how you came back from rupsy to banking some money. Talk to us.
And I am still on that money train. Let me just put that out there. But what's really interesting, and I love telling this story because I think that for most business owners, that's like the ultimate fear, is that you fail so bad that you have to file bankruptcy. And the way that I sum up my experience is that, you're either going to be humble or you're going to be humble. And this was definitely a situation where I experienced the humbling. So picture this, I filed bankruptcy. I lost everything. I won't go into the story of all of that. That's for another conversation, probably over cocktails. But I ended up starting over in Houston. And I spent the first 6 months just sleeping on the floor because I couldn't get a job. And this was God. God had a plan. He knew what he wanted. He needed Dawn to have some thinking time. And I had some thinking time. So it was really equivalent to me sitting in a corner looking at a mirror, because at this point it was time for some self-reflection. I had to really to have some hard truths. Like, I can pull the wool over your eyes, but I shouldn't be pulling the wool over my eyes, right? And so that's basically what was happening. I was not being honest with myself. So I learned 3 things. One, I learned to be accountable for my actions, right? Because the reality is that me filing bankruptcy is not just 1 or 2 bad business decisions. There was a whole lot mixed up in that, right? 2, I learned that, my notes here. I had to take a complete mindset shift, right? Because I couldn't look at my bankruptcy as a failure. I had to look at it as a lesson. I had to look at it in terms of, what can I learn from this situation so that I'm not here again, right? And I knew that there were things that I could have done differently. And so I was like, okay, check, won't do this, check, won't do this, check, won't do this. But that is a mindset shift. You have to be very intentional about that, because it's so easy to fall into that, oh my God, I'm this age and I filed bankruptcy, and what are people going to think? And it doesn't matter at this point, right? Like, you have to get back on the track. You don't have time for that. And the third thing that I can say is that it gave me an opportunity to renew my relationship with God. Because let me tell you, nothing will get you to open a Bible than sleeping on the floor. You know what I'm saying? And so what I realized is that the bankruptcy was really a boot camp for me at the end of the day. It really taught me so many things that I talk to my clients about now, and just overall life lessons. But the biggest piece is that we shouldn't be afraid of failing, because at the end of the day, as long as you're looking at that as a lesson. And I knew even in my worst day that God was not going to bring me to Houston to leave me on the floor. I didn't know how I was going to get to the next step, but I knew that this was not the ending. And so you have to maintain that sense of faith in yourself too. And that's, again, something intentional, another mind shift that you have to take and say, yes, I understand that I made some mistakes, but that does not mean I'm not great.
So Natalie, you bought and sold businesses. You're now on your second business. Tell us what StrataCamp is, and then will you pose the next question to Lena?
Yes, absolutely. I've learned so much in these moments hearing from both of you. So StrataCamp is a strategy consulting firm. We focus on empowering a workforce of doers to achieve better outcomes. So we provide tools, resources, and trainings for empowering the people behind businesses and brands. So you can learn a whole lot more about the work we do on social at StrataCamp. Now, my next question here for you, Lena, as an emerging leader, what is the impact that you envision for the future of your journey? What mark do you want to leave on the world? What do you really want to deposit into the communities that you're in?
Great questions. Two quotes instantly come to mind. First one is by Mother Teresa, and it is, spread love wherever you go. Never let anyone come to you without leaving happier. First one. And second one is by Maya Angelou. And the second one is, people will always forget what they do or what you do to them, but they will never forget how you feel, how you made them feel. And both of those two quotes are the embodiment of what, in the basic level of sense, is what I believe my purpose is. I want to be the light to allow others to show up and be seen. Me shining, me speaking, me telling my story, me being vulnerable and just being me for myself will unlock the power, the vulnerability, the greatness in someone else, and doing it by leading with love, leading with intentionality, leading with purpose, and just being very, very genuine and authentic. That's what I want to do. That's if I become the president of the United States, if I do all these great things, like, I don't want that to be what they remember me for. I want it to be every encounter that she had, she was consistent. Every time I met her, she was kind. She put a smile on my face. She spread love. She was the hands and feet of Jesus. Like, I want those qualities to be remembered by. But I think if we are thinking about just things in which I can give to the world, I absolutely love two things. I love traveling and I love storytelling. And storytelling comes in with a lot of my research background. And basically, I believe that research is just storytelling, or is just data with a soul. And being able to turn that data into a story to connect the lives and experiences of other people and put people at the center of research, and have research drive the way in which we are thinking about our relationships, the way in which we are thinking about our souls, the way in which we are thinking about examining our patterns to make sure that we're not making the same mistakes over and over again. People are predictable. If you look at their patterns, no one will surprise you. And that is looking at data. And so how can we utilize data to fuel the world, to make us better, to make us more self-aware, and to make us more purposeful and intentional? And secondly, with traveling, I organize travel experiences for young girls. And so I've taken girls to Senegal, I've taken girls to Colombia, I'm taking a group of girls to Tokyo, Japan this summer, and really being able to give the gift of travel to young girls, to expose them to something new. And again, I'm a quote person. One of my favorite quotes is, we travel because we need to, because distance and difference are the secret tonic to creativity. When we get home, home is still the same, but something in our minds has changed, and that changes everything. And that's the gift that I want to be able to give young girls, a mindset shift, to be able to see the world differently, to be able to see themselves differently. And I got so much confidence from traveling, because there's nothing like being in a foreign environment where you don't know the language, you can't even read the street signs, you don't even know where the bathrooms are. And you are just out there and you have to figure it out. And that's the gift that I want to give young girls, to empower them to show up and be seen, and empower them to take the world by storm, because they can.
Whew. Well, you guys are taking the world by storm already. One of my favorite quotes is from Dr. Seuss. Oh, the places you will go. And so you guys are already going. One of the things that attracted me to all three of you is that your faith plays a big part in your lives. Like, you don't dim it down. You are people of faith. Even corporate America now has faith employee resource groups. Tell me the importance, and we don't have a lot of times, but tell me the importance of faith in your journey as a businesswoman? You're all women of business. Tell me the importance of faith. Natalie, Lena, Dawn.
Yeah, so I think for me, maybe for all of us, we can resonate with the fact that in general, in the business world, we have so many things stacked up against us already as women, and particularly as women of color. So having faith, my faith background is really what has grown me to have confidence in these spaces where naturally maybe I shouldn't feel so confident walking into rooms where I feel I don't belong or where no one else looks like me. But I know what God put in me. I know that I'm fearfully and wonderfully made. So I can show up in these rooms where other people might say, what's that little 24-year-old girl, Black girl doing sitting here? But I'm like, oh, God put me right here. So I think that's how it's impacted me on my journey.
You know?
For me, I grew up in the church, and so this is just me. Like, I don't even know how to separate my faith and myself from my identities. It's just all intertwined, and it is one. And I think the biggest thing is when people are catastrophizing about how horrible the pandemic is and how bad the year has been. And sure, yes, it has, but there's something about having joy. No one can take that away. Nothing could impact that. I'm good over here. I am blessed and highly favored. Life is abundantly wonderful. And that's the mentality that I'm able to move forward. And that's the thing that impresses people of like, huh, how are you so happy? How are you so cheerful? Like, you don't have a bad day? I'm alive, I'm breathing, and I am highly favored and chosen. So it's just me, and I walk into every room with that attitude, and that's what captivates people. It's the Jesus in me that they see, that they are like, I need to get to know you. I want to be able to work with you. How can I do this?
I love it. And Dawn.
What I want to say is that it lightens my load tremendously. You know, I have learned to stay in my lane. There will be situations where something will happen and I'm like, oh no, God, that is above my pay grade. Like, I'm going to go ahead and give that on over to you. Like, you have that. And I'm going to just sit over here with my faith and know that it's taken care of. And so that alone, I cannot express how it carries me every day. And especially through the pandemic, right? Like, it was just, I'm in a city alone, no family. And so I'm talking to God, like I'm walking around the apartment talking to God, like he's just sitting next to me. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I need that. So it carries me throughout every aspect of my life. I don't know it like Lena at this point. I don't want to know it any other way. And I have known it another way. And so I'm very thankful to have my relationship with God.
Well, Natalie, the last question is yours for the day. And then we have one question from our chat box. So Natalie.
Awesome. Okay, my final question for you phenomenal women is, what have been the greatest resources that have helped you along the way on your journey? So helped you to overcome challenges, helped you to achieve your goals. What resources have really made the most impact?
We have to answer this like popcorn. So I'm going to start with Dawn. What's your greatest resources? What are plural?
Naturally, my family. But let me say again, I'm here because of my village. And it takes an entire village for this Pisces. So I am extremely thankful for the network. Extremely thankful.
And Lena?
I would say people as well. And there's a book, Daring Greatly by Brené Brown, that changed my life.
Wonderful. Val, what's our question from the chat today? We have time for a quick question.
Okay, we had a couple of questions. And one you just answered about the mentorship journey. I guess I'm going to ask this other question. Do you feel a person who wants to start a business should work for someone else before diving into their own business?
Ooh.
I think so. I think it is always it is always great to see the cost of greatness before you have to dive on into it. Owning a business and starting anything is hard work. It is 24/7 job, and there is a lot of uncertainty that goes into it. And to be able to see that firsthand and to be able to see the inputs that someone has to put in and day out is so incredibly important. But I also think there's an element of service. People always want to be leaders, but people don't always know how to be a servant and how to be of service to other people. And that is so important because the greatest leader of them all, Jesus, was a servant.
I love it. Dawn, how do you answer that?
That Lena done Snap that right on up. Like that was a word right there. I completely agree. 100%. 100%. You can learn from even a bad leader. And so I think that is great opportunity. It's not time wasted.
And Natalie, how do you answer that? My co-moderator.
I agree. I have to echo what they've already said. And my dad, who's a pastor, always says when he's teaching about business, the very first thing he advises people to do is to work under someone doing what they hope to do. That's the best way to learn and get your hands and feet wet. So I totally agree.
And so you've heard some emerging leaders. I mean, they are powerful, dynamic. They're not just going places, they are places. And so I want you to thank me. I want to thank you for joining me today, Natalie Jenkins, Lena Jennings, and Dawn Callahan, my cousins, my little sisters. We are just so proud of you. And it is my joy to have you as part of the Global Black Women's Chamber of Commerce and just in my village. I love you so much. Thank you for being co-moderator, Natalie. You did fantastic. You have great questions, and thank you for joining us. We're getting ready for our next segment. Please press that subscribe button. And if you want to be a member of the Global Black Women's Chamber of Commerce, go to globalblackwomencc.com or go in the chat box. And for today, up until midnight, go to State 3, which stands for State of Black Women Third Summit. It's State 3, all caps, and it's a 20% discount if you join today up until midnight. Thank you so much. And Reverend Cynthia Terry is going to tell us what's next as we go to our next segment.
That was a fabulous session with emerging leaders. They had a lot of wisdom, especially being a servant leader. That was really, really fabulous. But at this point, it's my fabulous 5th chapter. It's your turn.
Hey, I'm Dr. Sujay, or Dr. Fabulous, and I want you to get my new book, My Fabulous 5th Chapter. It's my turn now. We're going to be having Fabulous Friday conversations with some friends, some lifelong, some childhood, some of my book club friends, some of my beach friends, and we're going to have conversations for what it's like to be a woman over 50, your faith, to have fun, to have family, to have the best of your life and the rest of your life be the most blessed of your life. Oh, I want you to tune in Fabulous Fridays right here on youtube.com/Ambassador Sujay. Subscribe, comment, like, share, but most of all, get the book, judsonpress.com or amazon.com. Be part of the conversation. Let me know what you're thinking. What's it like when you wake up and the arm won't move? What's it like, though, when you have fabulous village sister friends? Be with us. Get it. It's my turn now. My fabulous 5th chapter.
Wonderful. Absolutely wonderful. Rhythms of Rest. That is a wonderful book. At this point, we're getting ready to go into our 4th segment. Black Women, Booming Businesses, the Rise in Black Women Business Owners, as Ambassador Sujay will be interviewing Felicia Brown and Teresa Harrison.
Thank you so much. We're so excited to have them. Reverend Cynthia Terry, thank you for your announcing. You have the voice of life. And I want you to join my next guest. So she talked about Felicia Brown from AARP, talking about the emerging businesses. And Teresa Harrison will be joining us. And we're just so excited. New author, but not new to business world. She's not only trained her daughters, but she's training another generation of young women who are business owners, and they are booming. So I'm going to start the first question. First of all, let me say thank you both for being here. Felicia, tell us what you do at AARP. And Teresa, tell us your business. You got into cybersecurity before we even knew how to spell cybersecurity. So tell us what you do. But Felicia, why don't you start today? We have a wonderful conversation that we have planned today.
Great. Well, thank you, Ambassador Sanjay, for inviting me here to this important conversation. And I know that prior to me joining, you all were dropping some nuggets and some gems to empower our women who are attending. So thank you, thank you, thank you. And I hope that everyone who's attending today leave with something inspiring. And so at AARP, I lead our entrepreneurship small business work. And really, all I'm doing is trying to inspire and empower people who are 45, 50 plus to live their best life through entrepreneurship. And so at AARP, I work under the rubric of financial security, and we believe that entrepreneurship is one path, because we know there are many paths to our securing financial security. And so entrepreneurship is one path to achieving that. And we believe because that is a path for many individuals and women who decide once they leave the workplace, they want to pursue a passion project that they can monetize. And we are providing them with tools and resources on really how to start, grow, and manage, and do all the things that you can do and be the best entrepreneur you can be. So that's really what we're doing. And I do that through national partnerships. And we have a resource called the Small Business Resource Center for the 50 plus. That's at www.smallbizrc.org, where you can find all of that information.
I love it. And we're going to be partnering with you because we're going to be one of your national partnerships. So thank you for joining us. Teresa Harrison, we're not just friends, we're BFFs. We cruised together on the National Professional Network, an all-Black cruise, maybe 20 or 30 years ago. But I watched your young daughters who you were coaching then, but now you are molding Black women leaders. Tell us who you are, what your business is, and what you're doing.
Thank you, Ambassador Sujay. I'm humbled by this opportunity to be on any panel that you're leading. And I am so thankful to meet Felicia Brown, my sister here. I have a company, George Street Services, and I have been in the cybersecurity realm for over 30 years now, before the term was put into place. And this company, George Street, is a company that is focused on providing cybersecurity related services to the federal government, commercial, state, and local governments. And we are a technology company. We are good at what we do. We provide cybersecurity products and services, IT and managed services, software engineering, and technical project management that is second to none. And I say second to none because I want to make it very clear that just because we are African American owned and women owned does not mean we are not great at what we do. So George Street Services is a great cybersecurity company providing the needed services that I guarantee you at some point in time, every business and organization will need. So in addition to leading the company, I am also mentoring women small business owners. I currently have 4 that I'm mentoring. They are up and running and revenue of over $500,000 a year.
Wow.
To show you that we're capable. Women think differently, and we will be successful if we just have the resources. So it's great to hear Felicia talk about that also. I also have a backlog because I don't add women to the formal mentorship until they are ready. And there's a lot of homework to be done. So I have a backlog of 17 companies. Wow. And I've just had to put the brakes on for a while.
Yes.
Get them rolling, because as I graduate the 4, which will be graduated by the end of this year, I'm going to bring in 7, and we will keep rolling from there. But it is a joy to watch them grow.
And it's a joy that you are helping them. And I thank you for the mentorship and the leadership. Felicia, what are you seeing? A woman says, I want to start a business. She's over 50. I have to tell you this. First of all, it's alarming when I got my card in the mail.
Yes.
And then last summer, I got a card in the mail saying, your next birthday, you're on Medicare. I'm like, what is happening? So you have to help me because I'm having a meltdown. But a woman who's over 50 who says, I want to start a business, what does she need to have for you to mentor her or to work with her?
So let me just say, don't have a meltdown. You know, Black women, we age wonderfully.
Yes. Okay.
And we, and seriously, we just know how to pivot, and we know how to shine, and we know how to be resilient in through all of that.
Yes,
we know that life has its ups and downs, but that's going to happen anyway, right?
True.
And so it's just a pleasure to meet Teresa because I launched at the top of 2021 a Meet the Founder series. And it's really about interviewing established owners such as Teresa, who've been in the game a while, to serve as an inspiration and motivation to others who are aspiring or who have launched but need those nuggets. And they need to know what other people's journey was like. Because, you know, sometimes in entrepreneurship, and in disclaimer, I'm not a small business owner, but I've been doing this enough to know that it can be a lonely journey. And you need people who have some skin in the game. And so I'm going to feature Teresa in my 2022 Meet the Founder series. So I've been taking notes here because it's all about paying it forward, and it's about mentoring. And so each of these entrepreneurs agree to serve as a touch point. And so we make sure that their contact information is available through this series, that we're just not letting people hang.
Right.
And so
about 30% of our Global Black Women Chamber are over 50 who are starting businesses. So we definitely have some collaboration to do. But Teresa, tell us why George Street? What's the importance of George Street to you?
You know, George Street is a model company for the world to see. And I say that because we are a company that's proven to others that people of color, women, girls, if we are just given the opportunity, will succeed and do exceedingly well. So you hear a lot now about DEI. DEI is in our DNA. That's who we've always been. So that is nothing new to us. It's becoming a discriminator, but that's who we are. So let me tell you a little more about George Street. I named the company George Street because it's named after the street I grew up on in Baltimore.
Yes.
The tagline for the company is where your story begins, because regardless of who you are, if you are hired by George Street, we are investing in you, and I guarantee you will be successful. One of the few companies in which I am the president and owner of the company, put a career plan in place with you and watch it grow. So although we're in technology, we have many children who can be in cybersecurity, who can do what we do, and that's George Street. Another thing about George Street is at some point in time, you have to ask yourself, this is why opportunities are widespread. Am I breached? Am I mature? Am I ready? Because all of us are in one of those states.
Yes.
And so we want to help not only solve problems proactively and reactively, but help educate. And George Street is a great place to be.
I love it. And I know who's at the head of it. So I know you are. I know Felicia Brown now. We've been on at the beginning of the Zoom calls when the pandemic first hit. You didn't really know me, but I listened to you, and I listened to the integrity, and I listened to what you wanted to make happen at AARP. So when you see a woman over 50 coming to you, what resources do you make available to her through the AARP organization?
Yes. So let me just say right now, all of our resources are what we call an AARP general market. And so that touches everyone, because we know that small business is small business is small business. And so on our resource center, we've actually created several audience resource pages. So we have one for the Black audience, we have one for the Hispanic audience, we have one for the veteran audience. So next year, because so many women were impacted by COVID and pushed out of the marketplace and have pivoted to entrepreneurship, I'm going to do a little bit more focus on women. So we're going to, at the top of the year, coming out with a women's own business resource page.
I love it.
And really create a plan for 2022 and reaching more women and more women of color. We know that women are the number one users of our content. Within AARP, I lead what we call a tactic around disparity. And that is really focused on addressing the wealth gap for minority-owned businesses.
Yes.
And so I am partnering with organizations like the National Urban League and Unidos US to really support some of their training programs, and like the National Association of Women Business Owners, to support some of their training programs where they are more of a touch point in the local community and helping to close the gap around training. We heard that during this COVID period, that many people weren't unable to access some of the PPP because their businesses weren't really in a place to access those funds. And so we want to work with organizations who are being intentional about closing that gap to make sure that our Black and Brown business owners are not left behind.
I love it.
So that's where our focus is.
Yes.
And so while we focus on kind of the universe of small business, we also have a strategy where we are focusing on businesses of color.
So at the beginning of the pandemic, we formed a partnership with GBWCC, a billion women. And we actually created 25 cheaper PPE distributors because we knew people needed to get it from women of color. So we're all kind of working in that same vein. So we definitely want to partner with you. But Teresa, there's a book 16 years in the making that you just published. Tell us, do you have a copy of it? Hold it up if you can. Tell us the title of your book and tell us what happened. What was the pivotal moment? Tell us the title and what was the pivotal moment that made you finish this book?
My book is titled Yes, You Are Able. And as Ambassador Sujay mentioned, I've been writing this book for many, many years. I've had on my bio for 20 years, soon to be author. But during the pandemic and doing my cancer journey, I got what I needed to write about. And they were two critical points in my life. One is that I've wanted to write about many things, my journey, my life journey, but that could have been 17 books. But during this point in time, God had me to sit still and just listen and gave me exactly what I needed to write about. So Yes, You Are Able is actually about the fact that there are many people who are smarter than me, who are more creative than me, who for some reason did not believe they could do what they really wanted to do, or who stepped away the day before their breakthrough, or who bought into self-limiting beliefs, or who just did not have the courage to step up and do so. So the book is me going on a journey with the reader and saying, there is nothing unique about me. I didn't have any golden handcuffs or a silver spoon, but I had the mindset that I could do this. And I was not going to let others block me from doing what I wanted to do. So Yes, You Are Able is I go on a journey with you and help you and motivate you to go after whatever it is you want to do. So I'm excited because it's a bestseller. That was my biggest excitement.
Yes.
And it's doing well.
And I gave an excerpt for that book.
Yes.
We're so excited with you. And we're going to be using that book with Global Black Women's Chamber of Commerce. Val Harris-Aline, tell us one of the questions that are in the chat box for this wonderful panel. We have time for one question. What is the one that you'd like to ask Felicia and Teresa?
Well, one question came through for Felicia Brown. What is the best services Black women should take advantage of from AARP?
What are some of the services? I want to make sure I heard that clearly.
Yeah, that's what I said. Best services.
Best services.
So AARP, we are a very multifaceted organization. And so you just really need to hone in on what is it that you're looking for. So, we serve the 50 plus. And so are you looking for Social Security? Are you looking for Medicare? Are you looking on, we even have what we call turnkey programs that focus on driver safety, how to use a cell phone, how to I mean, it's just a myriad of things. But if you're talking about small business, we created the one-stop shop for small businesses. It's the Small Business Resource Center for the 50 plus. And I will say we also have a campaign page called Be Your Own Boss. But you will find that many of those resources are cross-promoted. But I will say on the Resource Center is where you will hear all of the interviews. But the latest thing that I'm so proud of is I just launched a podcast called AARP How She Did It. And I have the pleasure of interviewing the McBride sisters, Maison 276, Trey Street Jams, Jaleesa Rios, who's Rios Curls. So I say go there and see the wealth of information you can find. We just completed a contest with our brand ambassador, Damon John, where we selected 4 winners, 2 established owners and 2 aspiring owners. They won grand prizes of $10,000 and $5,000. And where they actually, they also had a one-on-one interview with Damon John, where he actually gave them tips on how to grow their business.
I love it.
So just go there.
Yeah.
And go there and go there.
And Teresa was on our Fabulous Fridays talking about the Fabulous Fifth Chapter in terms of women over 50. So we thank you, Teresa, for that book as well. And what's one last question about for Teresa as we close?
Let's see.
I would ask you this, Teresa. Okay. What's your advice for women business owners who may have had a cancer experience? How did you overcome it and keep on going?
You know, it's such a horrible experience that you need to focus on something that will pull you through and keep you moving and thriving and surviving. So what I decided to do, although I was unable to work for 3 years, what kept me going was the fact that I recognized that I had equipped my team sufficiently. I have given them, I believe in giving responsibility and authority. A lot of times you get responsibility, but not the authority. And that's the type of culture we had. So during this time frame, I watched my team run my company successfully.
Wow.
And did a phenomenal job. Now, I came back this year and I was wondering if I still had a job.
It was so wonderful. But that's about legacy and making sure that it's there.
Yes, yes.
So our board member, Joyce Fields, who's in cybersecurity, wants to get with you. She gets government contracts in cybersecurity. So she sent a note that she wants to reach you. So what's the best way for the public to reach you, Teresa, and for you, Felicia? What's the best way, Teresa Harrison?
Okay, I am on LinkedIn, Teresa R. Williams Harrison, and you can email me at any time, Teresa, THERESA, at GeorgeStreetInc.com. And of course, Ambassador Sujay have my contact information. And I would love to hear from anyone. If I can be of assistance in any way, please feel free to reach out. And I also want to say that my book, I'm in discussions with a large company who is looking at getting the book and having me come in to do workshops for the young professionals, because they want them starting out believing that they're able to be successful.
And we're going to use it with the Global Black Women's Team.
Thank you.
Yes. And Felicia, what's the best way for them to reach you?
So I too am on LinkedIn under Felicia Brown. And I can be reached at AARP at fbrown@AARP. And
.org.
Oh, I'm sorry. .org. We are a nonprofit organization. So it's fbrown@aarp.org. And I encourage you again to go to our resource center, but also check out our podcast. You know, we just launched it, and you're going to hear these amazing journeys of women who talk about their why.
I love it.
And their lessons learned. And you're going to see Teresa next year on Meet the Founders interview series.
Well, thank you.
So go there and listen to all of that wonderful information.
And we thank you for joining us. This has been
Thank
a
you.
Thank you, Teresa Harris and Felicia Brown. You have just been the bomb, as they say. And you're hearing from us. This is coming to you from the Global Black Women's Chamber of Commerce. Press that subscribe button. We have another segment. Please don't go away. We are so excited and ignited about all the segments today. And Reverend Cynthia Terry will tell us what's coming up next. You stay with us for our final segment.
I think that we have had so much information during this summit, and all of it has been fabulous. We want to thank the panelists, and I couldn't take all the notes that I was enriched by from our guests. So thank you so much. Our next guest is a Global Black Women's Chamber of Commerce member. She is a CEO and a publisher of a magazine called Women of Wealth, Dr. Lee Lewis.
Now, Lee, that's the cover of her magazine. She's not going to be interviewed today, but we want you to support Women of Wealth because she's had Michelle Obama on the cover. That's her on the cover. She's a new board member of the Global Black Women's Chamber of Commerce. You'll see this magazine in airports. You'll see it wherever you go. That's Lee Lewis, and spelled L-E-I. And of course, we know Michelle Obama. The magazine is Women of Wealth. She'll be having a conference coming up in the Hamptons in April. We'll give you more information if you join the Global Black Women's Chamber of Commerce. Thank you, Lee, for providing these magazine covers. We wish you well. We've been friends for many years, but now you're on the board of the Global Black Women's Chamber of Commerce. And we're getting ready for our final segment. That's WOW, and we're going to be dealing with women on the world stage, another WOW. And coming up, Reverend Cynthia Terry, can you announce our guests for our final segment?
Yes, they are two phenomenal women.
Yes.
I'm sorry, yes. They are two phenomenal women. And Dr. Sherry Henderson is our Global Black Women Chamber of Commerce board member, Global DEI, and Michelle McKinney Hammond, business owner from Ghana.
Thank you. We want to welcome them to our last segment. Thank you, ladies. I know it's midnight, Michelle McKinney Hammond over in Ghana, and Dr. Sherry, I don't know what part of the world you're in, but we thank you both for being with us. Just marvelous women. Just tell us what the world stage is like for Black women. Who are you seeing? What are you seeing? What kind of businesses are we owning? Dr. Sherry, you're on the road every time we kind of reach out. Tell us what you're seeing about Black women. Is it a good season for Black women business owners?
Yes, thank you so much, Dr. Sujay, Ambassador Sujay. It is such an honor to be here and just to spend this time with you guys. Yes, we're seeing some great things around the globe for Black women in business. Women are entering into almost every industry that's out there, everything from the auto industry to technology, you name it. You see our faces in all the high places. And so I'm really excited to be a part, of course, of the chamber and work with Black women all around the world.
Well, thank you for coming back today with us. Now, Michelle McKinney Hammond, 10 years ago, I celebrated my 55th birthday with you in Ghana. I was a diplomat for the United States of America, and you treated me so royally. But I remember your father had passed, and you were just taking over his business. But
Yes.
Tell us about that business and where you are now, multi-businesses, if that's a word. Michelle McKinney Hammond from Ghana, West Africa.
Yes, to be perfectly honest, it's been a whirlwind from the 10 years ago that I saw you. I inherited at the time two businesses, one which is a cash and transit business like Brinks in the States, and security guard firm. And we are actually transitioning one of those companies right now to we're going to be leasing and selling armored trucks. because crime has risen in the cash carrying business, and so now it is mandated by government that we use armored trucks. So we're actually negotiating with a couple of companies now to bring in armored trucks. And ooh, I'm gonna run out of power. Okay, there we go. And lease them as well. And security guards are something that are quite popular in our area of the country. So that business continues, and it's an interesting business as a female.
Yeah.
But I'm running them, so we're here.
All my board members are saying bravissimo. They're like, you're wonderful. They love you. And so they're saying, please continue. Now, my late parents started a security guard agency, which is still the longest running Black-owned business in New York City now, 59 years old. And my niece is running it. So 4th generation running a security guard agency. So we understand females in that security business. Dr. Sherry, I met a female gold mine owner in South Africa. So what kind of new businesses are you seeing Black women at the helms of?
I mean, almost every industry is wide open now. And like I said, even some of the long-standing industries that you didn't normally see us as the CEOs or the owners of, even spaces like global real estate, being able to make decisions in those markets, a lot of transportation companies, which was typically a male-dominated industry, logistics and transportation. You're seeing more and more women of color, Black women specifically, who are pursuing some of these industries. They see them as being very lucrative. No one does it better than a Black woman, right? So we're able to get in and bring our mindset, bring our resources, our multitasking skills to the table, and we're able to, get the job done. So I'm seeing Black women in a variety of industries across the globe. I'm also seeing more mergers and acquisitions taking place. Women stepping in to acquire businesses, or they've inherited businesses, very similar to Michelle, and just really learning the ropes and utilizing their current resources to be successful in those industries.
So Michelle, right after I left, went to Liberia. It was the last country I went to as a diplomat. And they were talking, as the clubhouse is now talking about, how China was coming in. They were fixing the roads, they were giving electricity, but not training the indigenous people. So in Ghana specifically, what are the industries like that, road repair and electricity, that Black women are trying to do or at the helm of? Are you seeing that?
Oh, yes, there are women that are really spearheading sanitation companies. Also, recycling. So there's a lot of things of really repurposing things that are already here. And I see a lot of women. There's a woman, Renee Neblet at Coco Brite, who literally collects the glass bottles that are around, or even the waste of old clothing, and repurposes and recycles them into fashion, into lights. I mean, she's amazing. The things that she comes up with, a plastic bottle, she makes chandeliers with them. And I mean, just amazing things, And then of course, in Africa, contrary to popular belief, women are rising in government at just phenomenal numbers. They are leading elections. They are running cities. There's a woman mayor of Accra right now. So it's just an amazing time. They're taking over banks. They're leading attorneys and judges. And then just the number of NGOs that are coming up in the countries all over Africa as well, helping those that are in need, and locating different types of needs in business as far as food supply and different things like that. So it's an amazing and exciting time to see how people are being very innovative. They're not sticking to traditional trends of business. They're actually creating new inroads and creating new opportunities with unique approaches to business. So it's really exciting.
So my Delta sister was on Sunday. She was Eunice, and she was talking about she creates content for Hollywood from West Africa. So I know you're in the acting field now.
Yes, I am.
Content for the continent, or do you do content overseas as well?
Well, I am developing some things right now to really cross the cultural bridge. As an African who lived in America most of their life, and I'm back in Africa, I have an appreciation of both cultures, and I consider myself kind of a bridge.
Yeah.
So I've actually been spending a lot of time acting in African movies and beginning to write scripts and develop projects on my own. So there are amazing women actors in women directors in this country who are starting their own channels and doing major work that's crossing over to mainline television. One of the soap operas I'm in actually shows on Showmax, because Netflix, Showmax, a lot of these other major networks now are taking a lot of African content. So it's an exciting time to be a part of the industry.
Just give me a walk-on part. I'll be good, you know. Dr. Sherry, our first segment started out with positioning, preparation, and presentation. So if a woman in America wants to do business with a woman in Africa or the Caribbean, what's the preparation? How do they position themselves, and what do they need to be ready for business overseas?
Yeah, I would agree with some of the things that Michelle said. That preparation and just preparing yourself for culture intelligence, first of all, you know, there is a certain thing called CQ that we spend a lot of time on discussing in our company, helping the individual figure out first what's the current climate in that particular city or country that they want to go or grow into. You know, everything from international law to logistics, you know, everything in that space. Just this summer, we launched an NGO in Nairobi. And one of the requirements is that you have to have 3 individuals on your board, Michelle, in Kenya, that has to be, you know, native from Kenya.
Yes. And the same thing in Ghana. You have to have a silent partner from Ghana. Yes.
I love
it. And they have to have a prominent role. They can't just be, you know, a member. It has to be a vice president or a treasurer or secretary. That is actually a Kenyan that's going to be, you know, a part of your company as you're growing and expanding it into this new territory, this new region. We're working with a music producer that's out of Atlanta. And I know Michelle talked about the entertainment and music industry, just to kind of piggyback on what she's saying as well. This producer has worked with some of the greatest music artists that we have here in the US, folks like, you know, Jay-Z and Swiss Beats and all of these folks here in the US. He's a well-known music producer, but one of the tasks that he had for our company was for us to go over and identify Kenyan artists. Artists who had that authentic sound, artists who already had, you know, a substantial following. And so when you're thinking about merging and collaborating with individuals, he wanted to make sure they had a social media presence already. And so we sent him over, we put a proposal together. We sent him probably about 10 artists from Kenya that he's looking at now to work with. And so they'll be collaborating with his next music production. And so it's always great to, you know, come to the table ready as much as you can and do your homework. And in the US, there's so many resources that we have here that's available. You know, you have the International Trade Association, SBA.gov. You have, you know, the Export-Import Bank. You have the Global Business Development Firm, right? Us. And even on our website, we have a resource page. So always, you know, utilize the free resources that we have here in the States that can assist you with entering into new global markets.
I love it. So Michelle, and we're going to take one question from the audience just before we close. So one of the things that Americans always, like if you're going to work for the government, they always ask you if you have money in foreign places. You know, they want to know how where your money is. So being in both worlds, having been in America and Ghana, what do you suggest in terms of the businesswoman and her banking?
Well, I still have accounts in America. Because I come back and forth. So since I have dual citizenship, then I'm responsible in both countries. So I have banking here and I have banking in America. And, you know, that's always a very interesting dance to do with international banking. So it really behooves you to have a good, solid bank in the States that's able to do international business, like a Chase. I love Chase.
Yes.
You know, and then make sure that you have something that's more international in the country you're in, like a Barclays, which is now ABSA, I believe. So,
Yeah.
you know, just really doing your homework on how they work, knowing the fees, because depending on how you put in money, there could be amazing fees on the way out that are not so amazing, if you know what I mean. So just really being well read. But I just wanted to interject as well something that Dr. Sherry said about cultural knowledge. It is really critical because a lot of times people come into the country and they're more African than the Africans, or they think they know better. And there's a sense of, you know, talking down to people. And there's something to learn on both sides. You know, there's things that they want to learn from you as an American, and then there are things that you can learn from them as Africans. So I think that you should come with an open heart and an open mind. What I love about Africa is kind of like the Wild Wild West. If you can dream it and see it and believe it, you can do it. I mean, people are much more open to you experimenting and starting new businesses. I'm also in music as well, Dr. Sherry. So, you know, it's just been a wonderful place for me to spread my wings and discover all the different facets of things I always wanted to do. I've just started a fashion line, and I have a tour company to give tours around Ghana. So I get to do all the expressions of myself without being limited or hindered, because people are just so open and welcoming to new experiences.
And we're going to bring some women over there too. And Dr. Sherry, you're going to be part of our international part of our board. We're so happy to have you in the Global Black Women's Chamber. We're going to take one question from the audience as Val Harris-Aline comes for our closing question tonight. What is it, Val Harris-Aline?
Well, it's such interesting conversations. We're just wondering in the chat, how would someone go about like investing or in Ghana or overseas? How would some person go through that?
Well, definitely you have to have a Ghanaian partner. If you don't, you've got to come with $1 million to start and then have your plan and go through all the paperwork. And, you know, it has to be something that benefits the country. There are definite rules in place for when you want to start your business. So usually most people come, they find a Ghanaian partner. I'm actually partnering with a few people who are starting businesses here. So, you know, we work out a deal on how you share equity in that case and what your liabilities are, but it's possible.
Would they have to live there for a time period before they can start the business?
It depends on how they construct. If they have a Ghanaian partner, no, because there's still a presence in the country.
Oh, that's awesome. Wow, we have learned so much. You have been so powerful. I'm going to see you Christmas Eve. And Dr.
Yes.
I'm going to see you at our new board meeting in January.
Yes.
And thank you. I mean, it's been the bomb. It's been powerful from start to finish. Thank you for coming at midnight, Michelle McKinney Hammond. In the scriptures, it said at midnight, Paul and Silas prayed and sang hymns. So
hey, a lot of stuff happens at midnight.
Amen. Amen.
Fabulous. And thank you for sharing this wonderful Black Women's Summit with us, virtual summit. And I owe you, and we're going to make sure we make it up, but it's been a blessing. What a wonderful way to end our summit today. Thank you. Do you have one last word of wisdom, Dr. Sherry Henderson, for the Black woman who's thinking internationally, and Dr. Michelle McKinney Hammond? One word that you're saying to Black women who want to think internationally. Dr. Sherry.
I would just say stay rooted and grounded in the word. And one of my good friends, Sylvia George, she has a book called 7 Great Women in the Bible. And I have her book right here. And I tell you, this book has been such a great resource and information. I say stay rooted and grounded in the word of God and let God lead you, because it's many times it will be a faith walk, right? And you'll need to really know where it is you're supposed to go, when, where, and how. And so I would just say stay rooted in the word of God and let God lead you.
Dr. Michelle McKinney Hammond, you authored several books. What's your last book, and how would you commend that to us?
Well, I think it works with the program, The Power of Being a Woman. You can find it on Amazon.
And I would, second what Dr. Sherry said by saying, follow where God points, and know your intrinsic power as a woman. Your intuitive powers and your power to influence are the things that are going to open doors for you and put you on platforms that you can only dream about.
Thank you so much. Impact, Influence International, you're the best. You've been intriguing. Thank you. Stay with us for our closing words. Subscribe and stay with us for our final video and closing words from our sponsors. Thank all of our sponsors for tonight. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Lakeisha Barnett. I've had the privilege of watching the Global Black Women's Chamber of Commerce emerge and become a dynamic force to be reckoned with. I decided to join because I believe the heart of Ambassador Sujay. I also believe that the connection of women and men who support this effort are extraordinary. It's already been a blessing to my life, and I'm looking forward to the ways that I can grow, not just to advance my personal needs, but I have a personal motto of impacting nations and generations, and I can't think of a better place to invest in myself and to connect with others with like vision, like passion. I encourage you to consider joining the Global Black Women's Chamber of Commerce right now. It is the voice and the choice for Black women business owners.
And we are the voice and the choice. We started out with And Still I Rise. And so we still invite you to the Global Black Women's Chamber of Commerce. This is the action time. You can go to our website, globalblackwomencc.org, and there's a join here button. And if you join tonight up until midnight, there'll be a discount code of 20%. State, because it's State of Black Women. State, the number 3. This is the 3rd Global Black Women Summit. So State 3 is your promo code, and until midnight is 20%. But we started out with that poem about And Still I Rise. And that same icon, Dr. Maya Angelou, had a poem said, Phenomenal Woman. That's me. So whether you watched it, whether you were a panelist, whether you had a question for it, whether you're thinking about dreaming about a business, you are phenomenal. I want you to know you are phenomenal. And no matter what has happened, you may have filed bankruptcy, but take that bankruptcy off of there and say, I'm going to the bank. I'm starting again. I like to have this quote, dreams do not have an expiration date. So don't stop dreaming, whether you're on round 1, whether it's still in your head and you're still in the bed, get up, wake up, move up, sleep up, and begin your business. And we have a place. Now, we can't do it all, but if we walk together and we work together, we will win together. I like to say this. Why the Global Black Women's Chamber of Commerce? Because we can connect, we can collaborate, we can consolidate with other business women just like you. You've heard from millennials, you've heard from Gen Zers, you heard from people like us, Generation W, you've heard from boomers. And you see, no matter what it takes, doctors, psychiatrists, therapists, you can have a booming business, and we want you to have one. And so no matter what, I like to say this, 1 and 1 equals 2, except when it's side by side, then it equals 11. We will walk beside you, providing resources, opportunities, and networking. So let's do it together. We don't have all the answers, but together you are joining the movement as the voice and the choice for Black women business owners. Our first meeting in the new year will be Thursday, January 13th, and we invite you as a member. You've heard from board members, you've heard from new members, you've heard from young, from old, as faith kept some of them going, but today we say you are phenomenal. We want to thank you for sharing these 2 hours with us. Thank our backstage crew, Ariel, Jackie Jimenez, Val, and Reverend Cynthia Terry. Thank all of you who work backstage. You don't always see their faces, but they're getting things done. Thank our phenomenal board. Thank you for everybody who contributed today, our panelists, but thank you for sharing these 2 hours with us. I hope I didn't forget anybody's name, but you are phenomenal. Subscribe before you turn this thing off today. All you got to do is subscribe, and you can share this because it's been wonderful 2 hours together. I'm Ambassador Sujay, the founder and the CEO, the proud founder and proud CEO, 3rd generation Black woman business owner. From my parents starting a security guard firm in our basement to now owning Charisma Speakers, a keynote speaking firm. I thank God for you, for the wisdom that's shared today, for the wealth that's shared today, for the wellness that's shared today. You are phenomenal. And don't you ever forget it. You are phenomenal. Oh yeah, say that's me. God bless you till we meet again. Merry Christmas. May you have a happy holiday, whatever you celebrate. Thank you for sharing this time with us.